Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Innovate and Caffeinate. We're so excited today to have with us Kate Russell. She is the founder and co-founder of Hopkinsville Brewery. It's a place that we absolutely love to go to. And this is a special brewery for us because it's actually kid-friendly, and they have incorporated so many awesome things. We'll talk about that later, so that kids and families can go. It's a wonderful jewel in our community, and we're happy about that. Kate is with us. This is a veteran-owned company, which is really exciting for me. She arrived here at Fort Campbell in 2004 and served in the military for several years, and then just found her home, made Hopkinsville her home, and we're so excited for that. She has two beautiful kids and is also the president, which I'm going to ask you a little bit about this later, but the president of the West Kentucky chapter of Pink Boots Society, and she's also, we're glad to announce that she's also a member of the Hopkins Leadership Hopkinsville class of the Chamber of Commerce. So Kate, welcome. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And I'm super excited to be doing this. And now that you've given me a platform and a time limit, I guess I'll just go ahead and get started. A little bit about Hopkinsville Brewing Company. So we were founded in 2015. We purchased our first building downtown at the corner of 5th and Main Streets the day before Thanksgiving 2015, and then started our renovations on Black Friday. The renovations took about 9 months, just trying to get an old building ready, like to meet every code and make it into a brewery. It takes a good long time, and during that time, we ran a successful Kickstarter campaign. Which, if you ever want to talk crowdfunding, I can do that too. So if someone could please pull up the original picture of Hopkinsville Brewing Company before there it is. So that was the building before, and then 9 months later, we were able to open over Labor Day weekend. So next picture, please. There you go. That's 9 months of renovations. And if you've ever been to the brewery, I will happily give a tour of everything you should and shouldn't do when renovating an old building. And it's a neat building. It's about 1,800 square feet, and it took about a year before we realized we were running out of space, both in terms of production and elbow room for customers. It's not a very large brewery. In 2019, January, about 2.5 years after we opened, we bought the body shop next door to us and started renovations. That renovation took about a year because this time we were trying to run a business and renovate a building, so it takes a little bit longer. The addition gave us about an extra 4,000 square feet, and it allowed us to add extra fermenters and another 200 square feet of cold storage. And we were able to open that expansion in February, which was just in time for COVID, which we'll come back to here shortly. So that's a little bit about my company and a little about me. I came to Hopkinsville via the Army. I got orders here to Fort Campbell in 2004 and cried because most of my class got orders to Hawaii. I was able to serve 3 years with the 101st and deployed once with the 101st in support of OIF 0507. Came home, had kids, and became a stay-at-home mom for a few years. My then husband was a home brewer and thought it would be fun to open a brewery. And once we did, it turned out I really loved it. Like, I loved everything about it. I loved running a business. I loved making beer. I loved talking beer and pouring beer. Everything about it, I love. It allows me to be creative in ways that I had never been creative before. I graduated from Auburn University's graduate program in Brewing Science and Operations in 2018. And that said, no amount of schooling, I don't care what anyone says, no amount of schooling ever prepares you for opening a business and being a business owner, because on any given day, I'm either brewing beer, making sales calls, cleaning the brewery, pouring beer, fixing equipment. I mean, I do a little bit of everything. So I call myself a jack of all trades. And that was a very quick rundown. Am I going too fast? I'm sorry. Kelly, when she was running me through how this works, asked me to give like the do's and don'ts of small business ownership. And I think I've found more do's than don'ts. I tend to be more of an optimist. Learn as much as you can and try everything once. I think that as a small business owner, you have to be a creative person to begin with, because you have a vision, and it takes a lot of creativity to see that vision through. So, try everything at least once, and sometimes it'll stick and sometimes it won't. And you never know what you'll happen upon by accident and what ends up driving sales for your customers, assuming you're in a sales-based business. Back to crowdfunding, research a lot. There are a lot of resources out there, and this is something that I get a lot of questions about from other small business owners, because crowdfunding, I think at this point, everyone's heard about Kickstarter. When we did it, no one in Hopkinsville had heard of it. So a lot of our campaign was spent educating people as to the process itself, what crowdfunding really is. So that took probably a good 20 days of our whole 30-day campaign. And there's just a lot of research out there on crowdfunding. Look at all of it, and if you need more help, let me know, because I will talk you through it. We won the Kentucky Innovation Network's business plan competition. Was that the years all run together. 2016, 2017? Anyway, that lesson taught me very clearly, know your business plan. Have a good business plan. And I think that everyone kind of wants to hold their business plan to themselves, because it's your little secret. This is, all the research you've done, and this is your baby, but you need to be willing to put it out in the world and have people nitpick it and look for things that you haven't thought of yet. Either flaws in your plan, if you want to call it a flaw, or angles you haven't thought of, but be willing to ask for help with your business plan. There are lots of nonprofits around the counties. I know Christian County has several. MEDI is who helped us with ours. They sat down and looked through our plan, went through our numbers, and it's an ever-evolving document. So keep your business plan updated and be willing to adjust it whenever needed. Someone told me once it's a living, breathing document, and that really is true. So I can't stress this enough. Have a good business plan, a good solid plan. That said, be willing to adjust fire whenever needed. That is a lesson I've learned many times this year, and I think most small businesses have, not just in Christian County and Western Kentucky, but around the world, honestly. COVID-19 has been the biggest upheaval we've ever experienced, and I know that I'm not just talking for myself here. Our supply chains have broken down, our retail accounts closed. So within the brewery, we sell beer both by the glass and we sell kegs out in town to different restaurants. So leading up to the shutdown, our distributor had placed an order for an entire batch of beer that needed to go out to restaurants in kegs. I had it ready to go, and the day after the shutdown, they called me and canceled the order. So in the end, we were left with another 2.5 barrels of beer that I couldn't put out in town on tap, and our tap room was closed, so we couldn't sell it by the glass either. So it's just a lesson that I don't think anyone learned this in business school, how to run a small business during a pandemic. And I've been joking that we are on our third business model of the year, and it's true. Our original business model the goal was always to be Starbucks, but with beer, in terms of you walk in, you order your beer at a counter, you don't sit at the bar, you take your beer over to a table where it's more of a comfortable, relaxing space. We are not a bar. So when that was shut down, we ended up selling beer by the crowler can, which is a 32-ounce can. We can pour one at a time. So that kept us afloat, and I give huge props to the community and everyone who came out and continued ordering beer online and calling in, or by text or email. That kept us afloat for 11 weeks. And that was not how we ever foresaw doing business, but it worked. When we were able to reopen on May 22nd at 33% capacity, we moved to table service. I have never waited tables, and it turns out I'm terrible at it. But the point of all of this is, especially in times like this, be willing to adjust fire. And the way you end up doing business may not be what you saw in your head, but you have to be flexible, especially right now. Sorry, going through my notes here. Of course, they're out of order. So,
Let me ask you this, Kate.
yes.
Going back to, first of all, I didn't realize that you had gone to Auburn, so we're evil. But so going back to adapting through the COVID challenges, when that happened and you realized you had extra beer and you're going to close your room, I mean, did you sit down and come up with a plan, or was it just, hey, jump into action? What can we do? I mean, tell me a little bit about your mindset and how you were able to get through, and then following up with that, how was business?
So I think we found out at 9 o'clock in the morning that we were going to be closing at 5 that afternoon. And it was on a Monday. And at that point, were we open on Mondays yet at that point? We had about 10 hours to come up with a plan. And we always knew that we would shift to the to-go model of beer by selling through the crowler can. And it wasn't a well thought out plan. It's not like we sat down and came up with a list of here's how this is going to work. We just did it. And the rest of the country was in the same position. So that was March 17th. By the end of the month, the entire country was going through a can shortage because every other small brewery in the country had shifted to the same business model at the same time. It just so happened that didn't affect us too badly because of the timing, and this was just pure dumb luck. We had just happened to order a pallet of cans shortly before this happened. So the can shortage didn't affect us. What is affecting us now are the supply chain breakdowns. So I had ordered ingredients right before the shutdown, and now when I placed my order 2 weeks ago, I couldn't get half of the ingredients we need. So now I'm having to get creative again about sourcing hops. And fortunately, we have a grain supplier within the state now. It's a malt house that is able to get us some of our base malts, so that really helps. But it's just interesting now trying to figure out workarounds. As far as how business is now, it's been interesting. I can tell you June was, because we reopened at the end of May, June was great. June was a really good month for us. We were down, I'm trying to remember. I think we saw a 75, if not 80% drop in sales in April. That was just the case. June was pretty good. And then I noticed another drop in sales around the same time that the mask mandate came out last week. So it's just interesting, and I don't know how much of it is people reacting to masks themselves or people with the surge in cases, in reported cases, people trying to be safe and not coming out again. Wanting to be totally honest here, I'm currently speaking to you from quarantine. So I've been quarantined. I'm on day 12 now. I had a contact tracer call me a couple weeks ago and say, the 10th, and say that I'd been in contact with someone who had tested positive. I needed to quarantine immediately. So now I'm trying to run a business from quarantine.
Wow, you definitely have your challenges, but you are definitely one person. You've had challenges from the beginning. We've talked about that, and you never let anything stop you. You just kept going, and that's remarkable. But I do want to talk about, so if anyone's out there that wants to know about resiliency and how, if you hit a roadblock, Kate's the person to talk to. But I want to come back to your concept, because I think it's one that's interesting when you were opening this. And I want to talk, I want you to speak about the date night and the Joels and Father's Day and some of the things that you partner with. You're always coming up with innovative ways, but also that this is a place that you can take your kids. I mean, was your own kids a factor in that?
Yes, very much. So Kentucky is really cool in that if you are a brewery and you are able to give tours of your equipment and your process, kids are allowed. So at that point, I was homeschooling my kids, and it was very important to me personally to be able to have kids in the brewery. As a woman who as a woman, and I'm sure lots of other women have experienced this as well, if you want to go out and have a drink with your girlfriends, you don't want to go to a dirty, dingy bar where the windows are blacked out and you don't necessarily feel safe. So it was important to me to just personally to provide a space where everyone would feel welcome, that it was inclusive, that it would like a safe space, for lack of a better way of putting it. So it just so happens that those two concepts of being family friendly and friendly to women, they work together. So we've always had, well, up until COVID, had games and entertainment, snacks, juice boxes, things that will keep your kid occupied while you come in and have a beer. We chose our downtown location because my kids are now at the age where they can ride their bikes and come visit me at work. And, so it's within a safe or short, safe distance of our house, because we are family friendly. We have a bike rack, we have things for kids. And it's important to our concept, just to be welcoming to families. Because anymore, that's important to people in our society is, you take your kids with you and you do things as a family. So
it's so great. I love it because we've come out there and outside where we can enjoy a nice beverage, but you've got the big checkerboard and, we can play with our daughter and everybody's having a good time. So I love seeing that. I want to talk about, so the last time that Christian County hosted this, we had Giuseppe Vansois, who also won our entrepreneur competition. And then you also won the entrepreneur competition. Is it for those starting out in this type of business, how important it is to look at resources and look at what's available out there to get started?
So the cool thing about the business plan competition was being able to be put in contact with people who could look at your plan from several different angles, whether it was funding, whether it was viability, and being able to find different ways to put your plan together. So there are I found different websites that you just plug and play your information. Well, I remember Loretta at one point had us diagram it on a huge, like a blueprint size paper. And that was just a different way of looking at a business model. And, you can look at information several different ways. And I think that was the best part of that competition, was being able to look at the problem from different angles. The other cool thing was being able to meet people like Giuseppe, Juliana at Milkweed. I mean, I've made lifelong friends who have also helped we've helped each other with business just because we met doing something like the business plan competition. We've gotten ingredients from Juliana at Milkweed. Giuseppe comes to the brewery at least once a week. We've got Taco Tuesdays going. So I'll just plug Vansois real quick. Delicious tacos. Everyone come out, no matter if they're at the brewery or anywhere else in town, definitely check them out because they're delicious. Partnerships are so important. And that was kind of what I wanted to talk about today with this platform. You can talk about so many different types of business and how to run a business. But with COVID and being in a small town, I found that partnerships and being able to collaborate and have good relationships with other businesses, regardless of whether you view them as your competition or maybe you think that this other business has nothing to do with yours, trust me, there's always a way to work together. So that's one of the most important takeaways from my whole experience in business in Christian County has been.
Well, Giuseppe talked about that, and it's really cool to see small business owners and entrepreneurs helping each other. I mean, you've provided a platform for their food truck. So I think it's really cool. Talk about some of the innovative. I mean, you just mentioned some of the partnerships that may not make sense. Yet you had a partnership with a bakery with a cute little cupcake stand, and then you've come up with date nights. Talk about some of those things that you guys do.
So Joelle's has been one of my favorite collaborations so far because I'm a huge fan of her cupcakes. And that wasn't, I take no credit for that one. That was her idea. She approached us a couple weeks before Father's Day and asked if we had a beer that would, pair well in a cupcake. And I love to bake with beer. And so I suggested a couple different ideas and of beers that she could use. And she picked our chocolate bourbon porter and made a cupcake with it, and it was delicious. And she packaged it in a 6-pack of cupcakes with other styles of beer cupcakes they were all delicious because, of course, in the name of research, I had to try all of them. So I did that. And yeah, I mean, that was a really neat collaboration. We've partnered with MB Roland. If someone could put the barrel picture up, please. MB Roland has amazing bourbon, and every once in a while we're able to get a barrel from them in order to age one of our beers. And it's a fun process. It's a neat take to change the flavor on a style that we already have, or a beer that we already have that our customers already know. To barrel age it just gives it a little bit of a different flavor and a different characteristic. And they sell really well. So that's a neat thing that we're able to do with local distilleries. We've worked with the Main Street Tavern. They have roasted pumpkins for us for a pumpkin beer. We've done, I give Alyssa huge props over at the museum because it was actually her concept to do History on Tap, where once a month she has someone come in and give a talk, about something Hopkinsville related, usually with a historical perspective, at the brewery. And she calls it History on Tap, and they have been so well attended. That's a really neat event that she put together. We donate all of our spent grain. Every time we brew beer, we produce about 300 pounds of spent grain that we donate to a local farmer for his hogs. And he, in return, gives us produce that we're able to use in the beer. So if you've ever had our watermelon mint wit, Mr. Butler has gotten us the watermelons for that. So it's neat to have partnerships all around town that looking at different businesses and how we can work together. I love getting ingredients from Juliana because I know that they're going to be organic, they're going to be good. We get our elderberries from her. So it's neat to be able to partner with people and find fun ways to work together. My theory being that when one of us does well, we all do well. So it's a way to promote, because I remember starting out and thinking, how am I going to get this name out there for everyone? So it's a neat way to be able to cross-promote. And for instance, with Alyssa and History on Tap, I'm sure that the first few times that people came to the brewery, most of those attendees had never been to the brewery before. Most of them didn't know we existed. So it's neat to be able to reach different customer bases through cross promotions like that.
Okay, I have a question that came in. What is your favorite beer to brew? Do you have a favorite?
Okay. Any of the fruit beers, honestly. I love playing with different local fruits and vegetables and figuring out what they will add to beer. It's neat to be able to use, whether it's going to be a sour or a wit, or we're working on, we just released our peach sour last week, and that's always a big hit. It's just fun to be able to represent Christian County and what the local farmers are able to produce around the same time that, for instance, I think cantaloupes are in season or coming into season. I'm like, all right, so last year we did a cantaloupe kolsch. Are we going to do that again? It's just fun to play with fruit. I enjoy it.
Well, my husband, every time we come, prides himself that he helped to name one of them. I guess it's the hoppy something from the Hop Fest, but that's what he always has to try. But we love coming there. Final question before we wrap it up is about marketing. And I know you've done some great things with marketing, but the question is, what form of marketing works best for your business, and has that changed during the pandemic?
Social media. Facebook is by far our biggest reach. Instagram is getting up there. The cool thing about social media is it's free, unless you're going to pay for ads, but it's the best way for you to reach your customers directly, as opposed to being edited in a newspaper or in a format, like this, where I'm still reaching people, but at some point I have a time limit. So with social media, you can post often, you can post whatever you want, and it's your words directly reaching the customer. That's what we've had the best luck with.
Perfect. Well, thank you once again. And tell us, for those out there who have not tried the brewery or visited the brewery, tell us how they can get a hold of you. What's the best way to find you?
So we are located at the corner of East 5th and South Main Streets in downtown Hopkinsville, right near the Alhambra. We're open Monday through Saturday, and you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Hopkinsville Brewing Company, or our website, hopkinsvillebrewingcompany.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kate. We plan on being there this weekend. We're sorry we won't see you, but take care of yourself while you're in quarantine.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah, absolutely. If you'd like to have Innovate and Caffeinate in your community, give us a call or contact Melanie Tapp. Her email is mtap, just like on tap, at westcentralky.com. Perfect name there, Melanie, for today's guest. And then Wednesday, July 29th, we're going to have Casey Todd. So join us then on Wednesdays. Grab your cup of coffee and join us on Facebook Live to learn more about our amazing small business owners and entrepreneurs in Western Kentucky. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and have a great day.